you had an idea of the kind of actor you wanted to be and the kind of things you wanted to be in right away.
Yes.
How?
I think just by my taste level. I just sound like a total asshole.
Chloë Sevigny is an actor, model, fashion designer who stars in the new film Bonjour Tristesse, which makes its world premiere at this year's Toronto International Film Festival. Chloë plays the character of Anne, a celebrated fashion designer in from Paris who ends up on this holiday on the French seaside with a man named Raymond and his 18-year-old daughter, Cécile. Anne is the friend of Raymond's late wife, and when Anne arrives, her presence certainly complicates things on this holiday. To talk a little bit more about the film and a little bit more about her career up to this point, I'm so happy to welcome Chloë to the studio. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me. Just to reverse back to my intro, model, well, that's a stretch.
There was a time. There was a time.
There was a time, but youth. Everybody looks good when they're young. Let's be honest.
I don't know about that. You're not still at it? You're not still treading the...
I am. I find myself that I get quote unquote modeling jobs more as a personality than for my looks per se or my height. I think people think that I bring a certain je ne sais quoi, a certain audience, a certain, So I think, yes, I don't like to refer to myself as a model. I was a terrible model when I tried modeling, or whatever it was at the time. But yeah, from a very young age, there was actually a girl in my elementary school called Carrie Nix, and she was a child model, and she was beautiful.
Like real, like this kind of thing, hands on the hips,
I mean, it was
looking
like
at her watch.
catalog model, but she was like a storybook child. I mean, this child was gorgeous. She's still a beautiful woman. I still know her.
Yeah.
But I saw her doing it, and I was not that. I mean, I was a cute kid, but not like her. And I was like, I want to do what she's doing. I don't know. I just had this bug from a very young age to want to work. It was like
Work.
I wanted to work. I started doing these these kind of test things where you come in and you test a product, and then you go and you talk about it, and I was just engaged in things around me. I was interested in, and I wanted to be in school plays and theater and theater camp in the summer, and then I started wanting to do commercials and acting. I just was I had a bug for doing this at a very young age, so it was weird.
How about modeling? Was that comfortable right away?
That was just part of it. It was just they kind of coincided because you had an agent, and they say, well, and I was there's local department store modeling.
Oh yeah. Is this in Connecticut?
Yes.
Yeah. So
yeah.
You would do the Sears, not Sears, I guess.
It was Sears adjacent,
right?
Whatever the local store was. I can't even remember. Yeah. Yeah.
And acting was always the plan?
Acting was always the plan. I went to see Annie in kindergarten on Broadway, and I was like, look at these kids up there singing and dancing. I want to do that. And, of course, my favorite show was Little House on the Prairie, and I was like, there are more kids, living in a different time, doing what I felt like I was called to do.
And then what? When did you start getting gigs?
I started, I think, around second or third grade. I did some commercials and some after-school specials, and then my mom just got exhausted by the whole process, having to go into the city and doing these big cattle calls. And I was getting rejected a lot because either I wasn't very good or I wasn't very cute.
Oh, no.
I don't know, a number of things.
Those are two really bad reasons to get rejected, by the way.
And I think she just was I think it was a little bit painful for everyone involved.
Yeah.
So she's like, nothing professional until you're 18.
And then when you were 18, that's when things start. When does the thing start? Because when I was reading about you, and I'm trying not to say I remember you very well as a very famous model.
Right. Well, I was street cast in high school by Sassy Magazine, which was a very seminal magazine for people of my
hey, I remember Sassy
my age
Magazine
bracket.
My cousin Kathy had Sassy Magazine.
Oh, good
Yeah.
for Kathy.
Yeah,
I hope she learned a lot out of it, because I did. And
Streetcast, what does that mean?
They saw me on the street in New York, and they wanted to, put me in the magazine.
Oh, come on. That's pretty good.
Yeah. And then my mom said, yes, she can model if you give her an internship. So my mother was very clever.
She wanted you to to learn to...
Yeah. So in the summer, between junior and senior year, I interned there. And then I just was going into Manhattan, meeting a lot of people. I became very close friends with Harmony Korine, who eventually wrote Kids. And from modeling or working at Sassy, I got a gig to appear in a Sonic Youth video, and then things just kind of kept happening from there. I was always interested in people who were busy. I was always interested in working and being creative, and so I just kind of surrounded myself by people doing those sorts of things.
You might be tired of talking about this, but this is what I'm curious about, how you knew this, because I talk to people who get street cast, or I talk to people who start working at a really, really young age, and I find that like quite often it's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. Like they told me to be in this, I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, and they told me to be in this, I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll do it, and then eventually 20 years down the road, I decided I knew what I wanted to do 20 years after being in Home Improvement or whatever, something like that,
Right.
What I can tell from you and everything that gets written about you is like you had an idea of the kind of actor you wanted to be and the kind of things you wanted to be in right away.
Yes.
How?
I think just by my taste level. I just sound like a total asshole. It was just
but can I say this? Finally, an honest answer. The first honest answer. Like I fucking knew. I know.
I mean, it was just things that I was interested in. I was also like diehard like indie rock and punk rock and like indie film and indie spirit, and like to me that was like very important. So like when my career, not to fast forward too much, but when I started to appear in more mainstream magazines or there was mainstream interest, I kind of disengaged and like I didn't embrace that to a fault. Now I think I would probably now have more opportunities had I, but at the time it was like I shunned fame, It was like I just wanted to be like a working actor. I wanted to be like a character actor, and I was like obsessed with Cassavetes and Godard, and people who I thought were like breaking the mold and doing new things, and living with Harmony and making films with him, and he was so outspoken, and how he felt about films, and I feel like I was just kind of a snob, and now I feel like I've embraced a wider range of genres and filmmaking styles and fantasy movies and things that like at the time I kind of poo-pooed.
What changed?
I don't know, I just grew up, I guess. Grew out of it.
No. Here's why I'm interested in that, is because it reminds me of this thing that Stephen Malkmus said to me one time. And he was talking to me.
One of my biggest crushes of all time.
Yeah, you were a big Pavement.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the movie. I was actually supposed to be in it, and then I didn't show up for Alex Ross Perry, my dear friend. Sorry, Alex, but I'm very excited to see the movie. Well,
he was here. He was sitting right there where you are. And I was doing this kind of thing, like I was doing the like, hey, back in a lot of people were having attention on you, and I was kind of doing this a little bit of like, good for you, man, like good for you. All these major labels wanted your band to be blah 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 blah, and you stuck it to him. And he kind of said to me, he was like, well, Weezer are playing. I don't think he said Weezer, but I think he meant Weezer. He was kind of like, well, Weezer are playing stadiums, and he essentially said that like there was a part of him that wished he had been a little bit more towards the
I think a lot of us from that era who were that kind of staunch kind of, there was just such a like, I think like just our generation, like what that meant to be like underground and, or, anti-establishment was something like we're really proud of that, it was a real badge. And, now there's none of that. So it's just kind of like...
Well, there's no culture to be counter to.
Yeah.
There's no mainstream culture to be counter to.
Right. Well, also Pavement were terrible live. I mean, they were notorious for falling apart on the stage. But I went to see them. I was a diehard fan. Still am. I think I saw them like 3 nights at King's in Brooklyn, whatever.
Last question on that thing. Question on that thing is I read this interview with you where you said something like, you were talking about this. And I find this stuff really, really, really interesting. And I find it interesting sort of spiritually, because I'm always wondering that, like, if you finally get the thing, is it going to bring you happiness? Is it going to bring you lasting joy? Probably not. Whether that thing is money, whether that thing is fame, whether that thing is coolness, whether that thing is things probably aren't going to fill up your heart. I just disclosed a lot, and I'll edit all that out.
Why?
I won't. The thing I find interesting is you said, you got called an it girl, famously got called an it girl. You were an it girl of this generation. And you said the thing about being an it girl was, and I'll paraphrase you, people are unable to project onto you. It was an interview you did. You were like, I wasn't. People who were watching at home, the roles I would take on as an it girl, quote unquote, they were unable to project themselves onto me. I was hoping you knew what you were talking about, but your face doesn't look like it.
You might be conflating a couple different things, but
I think I have it. Aha, I have it. All right. You felt it limited the roles you could do as an actor. People weren't project on. You were made to feel like people weren't able to project onto you.
Yeah, I think that was like part of the people that were around me in Hollywood were like, if you're too much of your own personality or you're known as this fashion person, like Hollywood can't see you as this like blank slate and project onto you. So it limits your opportunities. Things were so different in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think navigating like Hollywood was just, it's night and day now.
What's the biggest difference?
I just think, just the way men held the power in the courts and, in the court of Hollywood and how vulnerable you felt as a woman or especially as a young woman even, even just like going to a party or a premiere or whatever, like, and now it isn't that way anymore. I'm so happy for all these young girls coming up to have a very different experience than what I had.
It was interesting to see you in that Charlie XCX video and have all these sort of young it girls of the moment and young internet girls, and then 360, right? And then like halfway through,
you're so Julia.
Halfway through can we loop that? Can we loop that? I'll give you a percentage of the publishing. It'll be great.
I actually ran into Julia in Provincetown. I was like, oh, Julia.
You guys know each other, you and Julia Fox?
Oh, we do. Yeah.
She's very nice.
Just from the city, from around. She's nice. Yeah.
She's very cool.
I like how outspoken she is.
What was going on? How did that feel to be in that video with all that crowd?
I didn't know it was going to become what it did. And like at first I was like, oh, do I need to do this? Should I do this? I was like, oh, you want to stay current, but I didn't know it would be that current.
Was it a little overwhelming? A little much?
I don't know how many people actually knew me, like of the young people even know who I am. But I think no, it was so fun. It felt very empowering, and I loved the whole group, and I loved Charlie, and it's been great.
Let me fight you on that the young people didn't know about you, because I found a YouTube comment, which is what everyone wants to hear on the show. The way my mouth opened when Chloe got out of the car, this was her thing before it was a thing. She invented brat.
Oh, God bless you, YouTuber.
Thank you, YouTuber. I invented brat, like the sausage. I loved Bonjour Tristesse. Bonjour Tristesse. I guess I should say it in the English way.
However you want to say it.
Had you read the book?
Embarrassingly, no. I had not read the book, and nor have I even seen the original film. I haven't seen it yet.
That's not embarrassing. That's like a process thing, isn't it?
I read the script, then I spoke at length to Durga, and then I came on board, and then I read the book when I got to Cassis and we started shooting. And I still haven't seen the other movie because I didn't want it to color my performance at all.
What do you mean?
I didn't want to like see something and then be like afraid that I was doing the same thing the other actors had done, or I don't know.
Right. I heard you were resistant a little bit to the plot.
I felt like, older woman loses guy to younger girl. Like, do we have to keep perpetuating that? But I've seen that with a lot of my friends. So terrible to say. Mm-hmm. And there's a certain truism, you know what I mean? And but Durga convinced me that like that was not what the movie was going to be about, the crux of the movie, and I think the prevailing like father-daughter storyline, daughter wanting father's attention, daughter not wanting, this woman to disrupt what she has with her father's, kind of outweighs the other storyline to me.
What did she say to you to talk you into it, to convince you the other way?
I mean, I can't. She's very verbose, so I can't.
Famously, professionally, by the way.
Yeah. Hard to
what do you remember?
Give a little synopsis. But I think it was just like she was interested in Anne, like as a person, as a woman who comes to this, stage in her life, who's a creative person and who really knows herself and, has a fragility, but also, a confidence and an elegance. And I thought, oh, I don't really have a lot of opportunities to play, women like this. And I think, in Capote and the Swans, playing Cece, there's a certain, bit of that kind of color there. But I just thought it was an opportunity to, play a woman and who, had a certain thing about her, a certain quality that I haven't done a lot.
I'm not surprised that we're unable to sort of put our dart on the board of exactly what it is, because it's really a subtle performance. It's a really subtle, like in your movement with your eyebrows or your shoulder or the way you move a little bit. I can tell so much about Anne's inner conflict. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I also wanted Anne to be revealed through the movie, because she shows up and everyone's like, who is this woman?
Yeah.
What's her vibe? What's she doing here?
Yeah.
And she's very uncomfortable at first, because she's obviously intruding on these people that have a real, casual kind of comfortable thing going on, and she has to then learn to be comfortable herself in the environment. And I think that was a lot of what Durga was interested in. She's very Romare, or it's just people navigating spaces and looks and silence, and it's this very kind of slower pacing where you're just kind of living with these people and experiencing this life at the sea. And
There's Durga. We should probably name her at this point. Durga Chubose, who I will call Canadian director. Canadian.
She's Canadian.
She's Canadian. Yeah. She's in New York now, I think.
No, she lives in Montreal.
I read an interview with her this morning, and they were like, "Do you consider yourself a Canadian filmmaker?" And she said, "I'm going to call myself a Canadian filmmaker." I was just trying to echo. You know what I'm going to do, Chloe? Watch this. Watch this. Check this out. Canadian director, Durga Chubose. When you have worked with veteran directors, is there a freedom or a different challenge as an actor with working with a first-time director?
I mean, every director poses their own challenges.
Yeah.
Everybody has different styles, and I think that's, it's part of the fun of being an actor, is learning to adapt. And some actors have more difficulty doing that. I am the type of actor that loves direction. So, Jim Jarmusch, for instance, is very exact. He wants you to, move in a very, precise ways in the frame. And other directors can, I don't know what comes to mind, but like Lars von Trier or something. It's just he wants you to do whatever you want and be very loose. And so it's interesting to have to adapt to different directors. And Durga, I think she just had such a clear vision, and there was a fragility to her that I just really wanted to protect her. It was also her first time ever on a film set, and there's a fragility, but also just such a clearness as to what she wanted to do and what she wanted to say, that I just wanted to really give myself over to her, even though there were certain things that I maybe didn't agree with. I thought there should maybe be a little more life in certain areas, but I just had to respect what she wanted to do, and take the risk on her. And I think she's going to emerge from this festival and from this movie as a very strong new voice in cinema.
I would agree with you. The word that's sticking out there to me, though, is I needed to protect her. I needed to look after her. There's a lot of love in that care in that statement you're saying to me, Chloe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love this woman. Yeah, if you met her, you would too.
Oh, I can't wait. Can I tell you what she said about you in that interview I read this morning?
Oh, no. Sure.
That's always what you want to hear.
Yeah. Lay it on me.
She was asked, I said lay it on me yesterday to a 25-year-old guest.
Uh-oh.
And they went, I don't know what that means.
Really?
Yeah, so lay it on me's out.
Please.
Durga was asked as a first-time director what she learned from the cast, and here's what she said. I learned from Chloë that there's always a bit more work to do, and you have to go for it. Never be satisfied.
Nice one, Durga.
Do you know what she's getting at there?
I guess so. I guess she'd always ask me if I wanted another take, and I would probably say yes, you know, and I think just digging deeper and, looking at things from every angle, and and I think also holding the people around you accountable for the best work that they can, possibly bring to, the project.
What's the art you want to make now? Big question, but I think I want to hear it.
Right. Well, I love working with new talent like Durga. I love taking risks on first timers. I think there's something about their naivete and enthusiasm that's very contagious and fun to be around. Also want to work on more directing myself. I've done a few short films and I'm gearing up for a feature hopefully soon. And I mean, just continue to play characters that are surprising and challenging for me and difficult. And I have this Netflix series coming out, Monsters, about the Lyle and Eric Menendez story.
Oh, wow.
And that was a real challenge as an actor. And so, just I worked with 2 other new emerging filmmakers and other features. So, more of the same.
You're not jaded. You're not cynical. You want to make art.
No, I still am just like a workhorse.
Same as you were at Sears.
At 5.
At 5. Nothing's changed. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Thanks for coming in. Chloë Sevigny is an actor, fashion designer. Did we do it? Did we say it? Filmmaker.
Thank you.
We're going to leave the other one out.
Okay.
And you can see Bonjour Tristesse at TIFF.